Bobby, do I have any other?
Please stand by, everyone. The meeting will begin shortly. Everyone, please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. We'll begin just a moment, everyone. We're giving folks a chance to log in. Please stand by, everyone. We will begin momentarily. Okay, let's get started. Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Witherspoon, Deputy Project Director for Public Outreach for the Purple Line. On behalf of Governor Westmore, Acting Transportation Secretary Paul Wiedefeld, and Maryland Transit Administration Administrator Holly Arnold, welcome to the 10th Community Advisory Team meeting for Riverdale Park, New Carrollton. Out of convenience to CAP members, we're continuing to host these meetings online for the time being. Please bear with us. As with any virtual presentation, we cannot guarantee there will be no technical glitches. However, we will do our best to make the presentation run smoothly. Not to worry, this evening's presentation is being recorded. So in a few days, you'll be able to find this presentation posted on our website, purplelinemd.com. That's purplelinemd.com. For those who would like a live translation, the Teams format can translate this evening's comments into a number of languages, including Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, French, and Portuguese, and many more. Instructions for seeing live translations are being placed in the chat area of this meeting. Now, Genesis Baez, the project's Prince George's County liaison, will relay that information in Spanish. Genesis.
Buenas noches, yo me llamo Genesis Baez en el ANSE del Condado de Prince George's. Para aquellos que desean una traducción en vivo, el formato de Teams puede traducir los comentarios de esta noche a varios idiomas, incluyendo español, árabe, chino, francés, portugués y muchos más. Las instrucciones para ver las traducciones en vivo se están colocando en el área del chat de esta reunión. Gracias. Gary, back to you.
Gracias, Genesis. Now here's our meeting overview. Tonight we'll give you staff introductions, a project update, construction overview. We'll show you some progress photos, and we'll address your questions. Tonight you'll receive comments from Matt Pollock and Ray Biggs II, the Executive Director and Project Director in the Office of Transit Development and Delivery, which oversees the project for the M.MTA. Also at tonight's meeting are representatives of the builder, Maryland Transit Solutions, including construction manager Tim Stevens, and our old friend, Carla Julian, the MTS stakeholder manager. Matt and Ray will fill you in on what's happening on the state side of the project. They will then turn the presentation over to MTS, which will provide a construction update and plan forward. Finally, we'll give you reminders about things to look out for during construction. And we'll tell you where to submit questions beyond those that will be addressed tonight. Again, you'll be able to find the presentation later on our website, purplelinemd.com, along with responses to questions we could either not answer or could not get to tonight. We ask that you stay muted and hold your questions until after the presentation. Then we will open the meeting to questions, first from CAT members and elected officials. Respectfully, we ask that you limit your remarks to less than 2 minutes. We'll invite you to raise your hand by clicking on the hand image atop your screen, and you'll be acknowledged. You can also submit questions via the chat option atop the page. Non-CAT members who are viewing the meeting and have questions can ask them using the chat function as well. Just tap on the icon, type in your question, and we will address your question if we have time. If your question is not answered tonight, don't worry. All questions will be addressed later in a question and response posting on the website. Similar questions will be combined, so you may not see your question posted verbatim. Thank you for joining us. Here's Matt Pollock.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us tonight. We at the first slide? Yes, we are. Absolutely. Well, our community advisory teams, which we refer to as CATs, are an important part of the Purple Line project. This first bullet highlights the purpose of our CATs meetings, which are open to the public and provide an opportunity for the Purple Line team to communicate and interact directly with you, our stakeholders. Stakeholders that are designated as CAT members are further encouraged to proactively share Purple Line information with their associated organization and the overall community. We also look to our CAT members to gather feedback from their stakeholders and engage directly with the Purple Line outreach team as questions or concerns arise. With that, let's move on to the organization slide. All right. Here is the Purple Line organizational structure that has been in place since April of last year. Our new design build contractor, Maryland Transit Solutions, is shown on the left side of the slide. The other parties shown here have remained in place on this public-private partnership, including our concessionaire Purple Line Transit Partners, or PLTP, who are represented tonight by Doran Basso, the Chief Executive Officer, and Dan Haas, the Chief Financial Officer. We also have our engineer of record, Atkins, shown on the org chart, our car builder, CAF, and our operator, Purple Line Transit Operators, which consists of two firms, Alternate Concepts, which we refer to as ACI, and CAF. Let's take a look now at the revised project schedule. The new design build contract was executed in April of last year. During that springtime, MTS engaged in its mobilization efforts, signing subcontracts, planning field activities, and performing due diligence inspections in the field. MTS construction activities ramped up over the summer, and active Purple Line construction can be seen across the entire alignment. With this work plowing ahead, we're looking forward to our light rail vehicles to start arriving soon, and then the test track to be prepared. The test track area, which is centered around this area, around the Glenridge Operations and Maintenance Facility, is scheduled for completion in the summer of 2024, kicking off a period of intensive local testing, integrated testing, and initial operator training while construction activities continue across the alignment. In the winter of 2025, construction across the entire alignment will have progressed enough to allow for system-wide testing, full operational testing, and the commissioning activities necessary to prove out a safe and ready light rail line. Passenger service is scheduled to begin in the fall of 2026. Now, as the Washington Post recently and correctly reported, our concessionaire's technical advisor has identified project challenges that they believe represent a potential 7-month slip in the overall schedule. Purple Line is a large, complex project being constructed in a densely populated urban area. And I guess those of you on the phone and on this call don't need to be told that. I think you're experiencing it. Most of these complex projects encounter difficult and sometimes unforeseen challenges on a regular basis. As these challenges arise, our primary duty is to seek out implementable paths forward that mitigate the potential impacts. For our current set of challenges, MTA, PLTP, and MTS formed a schedule mitigation tiger team in October to work closely together and focus on work sequences, alternative plans, and other options for working around the challenges that are threatening to impact the project schedule. At this time, there has not been a change to the contractual date for passenger service. Once we've agreed upon and implemented a revised path forward, we can then evaluate the revised schedule to determine what the resultant project delay will be, if any. With that, I'm going to turn over the microphone now to Purple Line Project Director, Ray Biggs. Some of you may not have met Ray yet, and I'm pleased to have Ray on the team. As Project Director, Ray is the state's representative responsible for the day-to-day design and construction activities along the Purple Line. Ray?
Thank you, Matt. As Gary and Matt mentioned, for this evening, we will focus on construction occurring between River Road and Ellen Road. This area includes Riverdale Park North, UMD, Riverdale Park Kenilworth, Beacon Heights East Pines, Glenridge, and New Carrollton stations. Each station will include art installations, benches, trash receptacles, and message boards providing train arrival and departure information. Over the next few slides, we will show you renderings and designs for the 5 stations in this segment, and you will see a locator map to the left to orient you to the area, identifying where the station will be located. On the right side, an engineering plan will highlight design features about the station, to include items such as lighting, shelters, and catenary pole locations. Let's move to the next slide. Here's a rendering of a generic representation of a side platform station, which is not unique to the landscape of River Road. The Riverdale Park North UMD station is located adjacent to River Road near Hike Drive and actively under construction. Next slide. This graphic here gives you design details for the Riverdale Park North UMD station, as well as the locator map to the left of the screen. Next slide. Here's a rendering of the Riverdale Park Kenilworth Station, located adjacent to Riverdale Road near Kenilworth Avenue. This station is unique as it is elevated, taking a train over the intersection of Riverdale Road and Kenilworth Avenue. Stairs and elevators will easily take riders to the platform to be able to board the train. Let's go to the next slide. This graphic here features design details for the Riverdale Park Kenilworth Station, as well as the locator map. You will notice it crosses over from Kenilworth Avenue over Riverdale Road, which is where the station is located, as pointed out here by the purple arrow. Next slide. This rendering is a generic representation of what a center platform station will look like, not unique to the landscape near Beacon Heights, East Pines, and Glenridge stations. You will notice the station shelter is in the middle with train tracks on either side of the shelter. Both stations will be adjacent to the roadway in a dedicated space. Let's move to the next slide. The graphic here shows design details for the Beacon Heights East Pines station, as well as the locator map. This station is located adjacent to Riverdale Road between 67th Avenue and Veterans Parkway. Next slide. Next slide. Here's a rendering of our easternmost station at New Carrollton, a center platform near the Metro's bus loop. This station allows riders to have easy access to a transit hub, connecting riders to Amtrak, the Metro, and local and regional bus services. Let's go to the next slide. The graphic here features design details for the New Carrollton station, as well as the locator map. As I mentioned, this is the end of the line on this side, and this gives you the location of where that platform will be located. Let's go to the next slide to take a look at accomplishments on the project. Work along the project alignment has progressed nicely, including construction of 5 bridges, including the elevated station at Kenilworth Avenue and Riverdale Road, opening the reconfigured bus loop at College Park UMD Station, beginning construction of 4 stations, which include Glenridge, Riverdale Park North UMD, Silver Spring Library, and Silver Spring. We've also opened the Sleeper Underpass in Chevy Chase, and we've completed production of 26 of 28 light rail vehicles to date. If you haven't noticed, you should check out our social media, where today we actually posted some recent activities of our OMF, which you'll hear about in the upcoming slides as we highlight work in the Riverdale, New Carrollton area. I will now pass it over to our construction manager on the project in this area, Tim Stevens. Tim?
Good evening, everyone. As mentioned there, I'm the construction manager for this portion of works. So I'll just run through these areas briefly. So starting with the Kenilworth Avenue to Riverdale Road. As mentioned there, we've completed a lot of the utilities, so the water, sewer, and gas, and telecommunications. And then some of the upcoming work will be traffic switches on Riverdale Road, to establish new work zones, beginning of storm drain installation, And then with those traffic switches, which there'll be 3 different phases basically along Kenilworth Avenue between sort of the Casada and Riverdale Road area, that'll allow us to begin work on the bridge foundation, so the pier and the abutment and the adjacent walls, which will be centered along the middle of the Kenilworth Avenue. So that'll be upcoming in the next couple of months. We'll get a start on that. Yeah, as mentioned there with the abutment wall construction. On to the next area. Would be the Kenilworth Park and the Kenilworth Station. So we've made a bit of progress there on that bridge. Just having some issues with construction materials, still some long lead times that we're dealing with, but we'll look to start forming that up with the deck pans that go in between the beams there. You can see where like the clear light is. We put metal decking in between that and look to pour that bridge structure probably somewhere in April at this stage is what we're planning for. Once we get that poured, we'll look to hand over to our subcontractor to begin works on the platform that was detailed earlier. And then as mentioned, that bridge has steel girders that go on and connect over the top of the 410-201 intersection. And that's what we're looking to start on to get the foundations underway on that. Looking at the next section there with the Riverdale Road to Veterans Parkway. So we finished up that large wall that leads up to the bridge in that area. There's a lot of work ongoing along the side of Riverdale Road with building the guideway. A lot of excavation went on to sort of get down to the final elevation in that area. The OCS foundations, which run the overhead power system basically for the line, a lot of those foundations have been put in the recent weeks. And then we're also looking to get a lot of the drainage network in that allows us to build the new 64th Street, which will then lead to the closure of, I believe it's East Pine Drive. And then also so we can reconfigure the Mustang Drive entrance as well. That work's all ongoing. And then with the upcoming work there, we're looking to get some work on the actual BW Parkway itself. Probably in the coming few weeks, we'll finish our flat work curb and gutter up there, which will allow us to pick up all the concrete barriers that are on the parkway itself, so we can, get that MOT system or that roadway back to how it was, a few years ago, and get the traffic flowing freely up the top, which will finish our works. We'll do a little bit of milling and overlaying, so some paving up there to correct any areas that that may have been damaged through the construction. And then further around, sort of between the BW Parkway and Veterans, it's another one of our traffic switches, which we'll look to get done probably in the next 6 weeks. We'll look to be splitting the existing poles out there basically. So we'll have traffic, the westbound traffic will be put onto the area that you'll notice where a lot of construction is at the moment in front of the police station there. So there'll be 2 lanes westbound, and then the 2 eastbound lanes will go to where the former westbound lanes were. This will allow us to open up the area for the Beacon Heights station, so we can get a jump on that. Mitigating some of the delays that were mentioned earlier to get us on schedule and to get the job completed. Jumping on to the next area, the Veterans Parkway itself. So the photo there is actually that's you can see it from Veterans Parkway. That's one of the substation areas that we've finished off the underground conduit network in there and the ground grid and everything, and we're looking to start pouring the actual substation foundation next week. We'll start forming that up and getting it poured. The other works along there, we look to start on the Veterans Pond in the coming weeks. We've got some drainage to put in there, and a lot of works around building some new walls in that area and fixing that pond up a little bit more. And then on the other side of Annapolis Road, we'll look to start a traffic switch down in that area as well, down towards the Allen Road area, which will allow us to get rail across Veterans Parkway itself, which is what the first step basically to getting that portion of Allen Road opened again to the public between Hanson Oaks and Emerson Place. Under the next area was the maintenance facility itself. So a lot of work's been focused in there over the last 6 months. As mentioned, we're still going with a lot of site grading. A couple of the stormwater detentions at the back of the building were finished late last year. We'll look to start on the final 2 when the weather warms up in the coming months. Just some weather restrictions on being able to build them. And as mentioned there, the OCS foundations in that location have been completed. So we've got track installed inside the building, and then starting tomorrow and next week, we'll look to start bringing track outside of the building and into the yard itself to get that built out. And getting track there is obviously key to us so that we can accept delivery of the cars and get them in the maintenance facility for work. Just downstream basically of where you can see that photo there, at the start of February, we placed the beams for the mall access bridge. That'll give access, the new access basically to the shopping centre at the top there. So that structure's underway. Again, just waiting on some of the metal decking for that bridge, but we're looking to pour that in the next 6 or 7 weeks as well. Unfortunately, it won't be open for the public once it is poured, but it'll provide you'll be able to see things coming together for how it will look in its final configuration, basically. On to the next location. There's the beams there. So there's the beams that were placed, I think February 7. They're basically underneath that. To get a picture, there'll be 3 lines underneath that, under the bridge there. So the 3 rail lines will run underneath that area with traffic over the top. On to the next one is the Glenridge station. So you can see there that is the bottom matting for the foundation of the station itself. As mentioned, this is a centre platform, so rail on either side. That bottom area has since been poured and the walls are formed up, and we look to pour the walls in the coming weeks basically, and then jump into all the underground network that has to go in between drainage and communications and power and all the fun stuff before we come back and put the actual top onto that station and begin works with the canopy and all the other items. Next area will be the Allen Road, sort of mentioned on that a little bit earlier. So obviously looking to get the rail across Veterans and up onto running parallel with Veterans. That involves some minor traffic areas on Veterans itself. And then we've been working to build the rail down towards Hanson Oaks. So we'll stop just shy of that. Just have to build one wall at the bottom of Hanson Oaks before we figure out basically getting traffic across the actual Hanson Oaks intersection and continuing along Allen Road. With Allen Road, we're currently working through a sort of an altered MOT sequence where currently the traffic is on, I guess, the south side or the east side of the road there. We'll look to put it onto the currently closed section, just so that we can keep traffic and pedestrians moving in this area and basically get a jump on continuing the OCS foundations down there and also the drainage. Basically, the next step of MOT for there is when we do open Allen Road between Hanson Oaks and Veterans, we close down the section between Hanson Oaks and Emerson. So by doing a little traffic switch down there, we're going to reduce some of that lead time of closure for that exact area. So, we will be closing it, but we're looking to shorten that time and shorten the impact on that local community down at Hanson Oaks, which we we know it's been a pain for quite some time now. On to the next area will be the new Carrollton station itself. So we've been working closely with WMATA over the recent months. They had some concerns regarding basically how the pedestrian flow was to go through there with the original design. So we've been working with them to come up with a new way to move the pedestrians through the work zone basically, and without having to cross over Allen Road and walk down and then cross back again to get to the station from the parking lot. So we think we've come to a pretty good solution at the moment to allow construction to take place while also, keeping the pedestrians safe in the area, which is obviously key for us and key for WMATA in this area. So we think we've come to a pretty good solution that we'll look to implement in the coming months. For that, we should be jumping back into that area. And that's the end of this alignment.
Thanks, Tim. I'll take the next slide. Nice to see all of you guys tonight. Thanks for taking your time to be with us. As you are aware, we do provide briefings for community and business groups, and that is ongoing. We do have a 24-hour stakeholder hotline. If you are not aware of that, that will be placed on the ending slide where you can take that information down. We do meet regularly with impacted businesses and try to come up with creative ways to mitigate where possible. And there is a monthly project newsletter that goes out along with social media posts that back up the notifications that we have for different construction impacts. And as you can see, we continue to host community advisory team meetings. Next slide, please. As always, safety is our #1 goal. And as you traverse as a pedestrian or a driver through our maintenance of traffic and project areas, we encourage you to be alert. We definitely have a lot of work going on, and there may be work on both sides of the roads. You're going to see a lot of barrels and cones and sometimes temporary road plates when necessary. If you see anything that looks off, you can let us know immediately through the outreach emails, through the hotline, all the different contact avenues that are available to you, and we will come out quickly and address those. Pedestrian safety is top focus for us, and we continue to work with communities and elected officials to address that where we can. And if we are working on one side of the road and we have to impact a sidewalk, there will always be one on the north or south side with a safe crossing detour. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Gary to close out and start to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Before we open the meeting to questions, we're going to address some of those that came in before the meeting. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, thank you, Gary. We have a couple questions that came in. I'm going to answer those two questions. I also wanted to just recognize two additional folks who are on this call. We have Joe Moges, who's the Assistant District Engineer, District 3 Traffic in Maryland State Highway Administration. He's on the line today. He helps us quite a bit. And we also have Vic Weisberg, Special Assistant to the Director with Prince George's County Department of Public Works and Transportation. And Vic, I guess what I'm doing, let me answer these two questions and then I'll toss it over to you. I'll give you a minute to see if there's anything you want to say. So I'll answer these two and pass it back to you. All right, so we did get a couple questions. One had to do with the grade crossing or the intersection at 450 and Veterans Parkway. The question is, when will the MOT phases be implemented for the track work installation at the intersection of 450 and Veterans Parkway? Currently, as we look through our schedule, we're planning to implement some new maintenance of traffic patterns this fall, which will allow us to do that track installation during the winter or through the winter. And maybe I will quickly toss it over to Tim just to make sure, since it's his area, that I haven't said anything that he disagrees with.
No, that all sounds pretty good. It's going to be a tricky little switch, but hopefully it won't have too much of an impact on the people moving through that area.
Okay, thanks, Tim. The next question had to do with the Mall Bridge, where we placed those girders just a couple weeks ago. The question is, when will the Mall Bridge be open for traffic over to the Glenridge Shopping Center? Great question. It's certainly a milestone we're proud of because I think it's like 300,000 pounds of girders that were placed in just that day. So basically, we put the bones of the bridge there. Unfortunately, that bridge is not going to be open for some time, essentially until construction in the entire area is complete. So it's going to be quite a while out before that entrance to the Glenridge Shopping Center will be available. With that, maybe I'll just toss it to Vic, see if there was anything he wanted to say on behalf of the county.
Thanks, Matt. As everybody can well realize, an awful lot is going on, and we are appreciative that things are moving as quickly as possible, and we need to keep that up. We need to obviously make sure that all the targets are hit, and that the project is finished as quickly as possible, and that we meet the stated times. In the interim, the emphasis that we at the county want to really place is the need for pothole repairs, safety, pedestrian passageways, bicycle access, and the aesthetics of the corridor. And we need to make sure that this section is kept up to speed and kept in good shape as much as any other portion of the corridor. So that's our piece. I will want to follow up offline to just sort of get the latest greatest on the new Carrollton safety passageways, because we did want to make sure that what has been developed, and we did work with your team through WMATA, but we do need to make sure that we also have direct communications on the new Carrollton station, especially regarding pedestrian access. So that's all, and mostly I want to hear what individuals of the community have to say and hear their concerns.
Well, thank you, Vic. Gary, I'll toss it to you to lead us going forward.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Vic. We'll now open the meeting to local CAT members and elected officials. If there are any who would like to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. Again, we ask you to keep your comments brief. I see there's some questions in the chat. See a couple of hands raised. There is a question from Mike Farley.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I am a conspiracy theorist, and going outside today, if you all were outside today, just a beautiful day. And earlier, one of the gentlemen had said that you all were having problems with construction due to the weather. We have had one of the warmest Januaries and Februarys on record. And I can't see how you all can be if not on schedule, then at least ahead of schedule. But you all are telling me that now you're behind schedule another 7 months. How does all that work out? That's my question.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So if I understand correctly, the question is basically, can you provide some more information related to the projection of the 7-month delay?
Yes.
So absolutely. First of all, certainly we're very, very happy that we had nice weather today. I think we all know, though, that the rain has been pretty torrential over the last few months. And so that, of course, always impacts our ability to get construction done. That, however, really isn't what was drawing into the discussion of the potential delay. What the lender's technical advisor had put together, they put together the evaluation that was based on the updating of the schedule by the contractor. Basically, they're looking at the progression of the utility relocations. The utility relocations are actually progressing in a very problematic fashion. It takes a long time once you're in there and able to do the work to get the work done. However, sometimes there's also additional problems that we find when we get out there. Certainly, we go out there and we research what we think we're going to find. In the end, though, what we find underground doesn't always match with what we expect. That's both with respect to the conditions, as in, are we digging through dirt? Are we digging through rock? Are we digging through something completely unexpected? Alternatively, there's also times where we find other utilities there that were never known. And just because we didn't know that a utility was there, we're not allowed to cut or sever that utility that wasn't made aware to us. We have to then find a way to either move around that utility or move the utility out of the way. As we mentioned, we're currently been working probably since October to address the schedule concerns. We're not convinced that there is a 7-month delay, but we know that there are delays out there, and we're working with various workarounds, trying to get more work done in parallel to allow us to be more efficient when we're out there. And in general, we're hopeful that we can mitigate as many of those impacts as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see a question posted in the chat from George. It says, when will the construction finish around Riverdale Park?
Okay, so I think we are getting ready to ramp up quite a bit of work in the Riverdale Park area as we get ready for the flyover coming in. I don't know off the top of my head that we can give you an end date for that Riverdale Park construction. And maybe for clarification, the question perhaps is when is the construction going to be completed on Kenilworth Avenue? I'm not sure if that's the exact question, but we can. Okay, there you go. So maybe what we need to do is take that question back and take a deeper look at our schedule to see if we can't give you an answer on when we're planning for that work to be done.
But ballpark, like, are we talking about years, 2026, or like next few months?
Oh, definitely not the next few months, because we're just getting ready. Tim, I'll probably toss this to you, but I think we're just getting ready to do some traffic shifts in order to start that work to get the flyover ready for placement. And that isn't even taking place in the next few months, the placement itself. Tim, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, most certainly. So yeah, the traffic switches on the Kenilworth itself, we'll look to start them in the next few weeks, basically, for traffic switches. And the 3 different phases that'll probably take 4 to 6 weeks just to step through those 3 phases. And that there itself will then get us into the middle of Kenilworth to start that pier and abutment. So, but we're looking at probably 6 to 8 weeks before we even, get into the middle. And then roughly, I'd say around the middle to late summer is when we'll be looking to have the beams coming in, essentially to span over the Riverdale Road. So, and that's just the first step, essentially, to then building the rest of the bridge with the decking and everything. So there's going to be quite a lot of work in that area in the next few months, and it's going to continue definitely for the coming years, essentially, especially with the building of the platform, the station itself, and it's quite an intricate station, that one, with you know, stairways, underground stormwater, elevators. It's quite a build, that area.
Thank you.
Okay, question from Cynthia. When will the construction finish for the test track at Veterans Parkway and Route 50? When will the test trains be active on Veterans Parkway?
Thank you, Cynthia. Right now, the plan is, do we want to go back to that schedule? Well, I guess we don't need to go back to the schedule slide. I think I have it in my notes, as a matter of fact. Basically, we are looking at 2025 for the, I wish, let me see if I can pull this up. Make sure I say what I said before, because summer of 2024 is what we're planning for, Cynthia, right now. I apologize for that. I was mixing up my items. So we're hoping that sometime in the summer of 2024, we have that test track available. That test track is going to run from the north side of Annapolis Road, and then it's going to be off of Veterans Parkway, running to essentially what we call the Beacon Heights Station. And that's when we expect that work to start, or that testing to start along the track.
Okay, Steve has a question. What will be the nominal transit time from one end of the Purple Line to the other? And then what pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure will be along the Kenilworth and Riverdale Road sections of the route? Will there be protected bike lanes or a mixed use path off of the road surface?
I do not readily have an answer to that. I don't know whether Tim happens to know off the top of his head as far as bike and pedestrian infrastructure being along Kenilworth and Riverdale. I'll toss it to you, but if not, we'll get that answer back to you.
Yeah, I can say we expect it to take about an hour to get from one end of the light rail line to the other.
Tim, are you? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my understanding is that there will not be dedicated. We'll definitely check on that, but my understanding is there won't be dedicated bike lanes, but definitely pedestrian access the whole way. And my understanding is pedestrian on both sides now, not just the one side as it currently is.
Okay.
Yep. Joe Mogus, SHA District 3. I believe there are bike lanes on Kenilworth. They're not separated by any means, but they are marked bike lanes along Kenilworth Avenue within the Purple Line alignment. So that's from River Road down to 410. As far as 410 is concerned, I don't believe the bike lanes run all the way up beyond BW Parkway, but there is some section of bike lanes. Separate from that, MDOT-SHA, after the Purple Line project is complete, we will be moving forward with our own separate project for multimodal mobility on 410. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Back to George. When will the Kenilworth road surface be fixed?
Yeah, I know there are certainly concerns with the condition of the roads. It's been a long time's concern. You know, the roads get better, we fix it and then it deteriorates again. Some of that has to do with weather. Some of that has to do with the recurring work that's taking place. Carla, I don't know if you want to talk at all about anything related to road surfaces.
I think if people see any issues, please let us know, and we'll definitely investigate those and see when we can get out there to address them. You can call the hotline or email any of the outreach emails. Thank you.
Okay, we got a question from Joel Ryerson.
Good evening, camp members and elected officials. I'm calling in from Adelphi, Maryland. And I have some questions on the bus lines, like the F4, T18, and the county buses, the 14, the bus, and the University of Maryland shuttle buses. And are they going to be affected when they completed it or during the construction? Are they going to temporarily remove the bus stops and they put them back, or they have to locate it somewhere else permanently? That's my question. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Joel. So I'll answer the question in two parts, talk a little bit about during construction and then talk about after construction. Certainly during construction, there are times where the bus stops have shifted. Whenever that happens, we have to work with the the owner of the bus service, whether it's the University of Maryland or DPWT or WMATA. And so we have in the past made some shifts. Usually, we try and keep the bus stop as close as possible. We don't like to actually close any specific bus stops during construction unless it's absolutely necessary. You also certainly have the new bus loop that's now open at the College Park Metro Station right outside of this CAT area, but certainly a nice piece of construction and bus connectivity for anybody who's able to use it. Once the system is up and running and in operation, the intent is that all the existing bus lines would be reverted back to their current bus stops. The only caveat to that would be if there are determined to be bus lines that are essentially duplicating the service that the Purple Line is providing. There may be some changes to the bus service to allow the buses to cover a different area while the Purple Line is carrying passengers. That part of the analysis hasn't been completed yet. That'll be done, obviously, in cooperation with the various transit providers, and certainly well in advance. It'll be communicated to all the stakeholders. So thanks, Joel.
Thank you, Matt, Joel. Cynthia says, what days, hours will trains be tested? We are anticipating more noise. Are you planning on building sound barriers on Veterans Parkway 410 between Route 450 and Riverdale Road? Who do we contact to get sound barriers?
All right. So we've got a multi-part question there. There are no sound barriers in the design for any of the train running along Veterans Parkway. I think what you're going to find is that these are extremely quiet running vehicles. This is by definition, this is what you think of when you think of clean transit. These are electric vehicles from top to bottom. They are quieter than a bus when it's running. On top of that, the test track area is a level, and what I mean by that, it's not aerial. It's not up in the air, and so it's going to be on solid ground, which is further dampening any potential sound that would be emanated from the vehicles. As far as the hours, I don't think we've worked out the test plan for the vehicles. It depends on how things are going as far as the availability of operators being hired and also test people available. And also we have to work around any continuing construction that will be going. But certainly from a sound point of view, I think you're going to be pleased with how that works as far as these vehicles.
Okay, let's see. Cynthia also wants to know how much will it cost to ride the Purple Line?
We don't know how much it's going to cost to ride the Purple Line at this time. The fares, I believe, get determined at the state level through legislation. And I believe we will follow the same legislation that applies to the other MTA operating modes up in Baltimore. But at this time, we do not have an idea of what the fare is going to be. They will be controlled by the state, however. It's not just up to the operator to charge whatever fares they want.
Okay, question about the hotline. We'll put this on the screen at the end of the presentation, but you can certainly call us at 443-451-3706. That's 443-451-3706. And you can email us at outreach@purplelinemd.com. Outreach@purplelinemd.com. Noise, no noise from the train wheels hitting against the connections of the rails. It's a question from George.
Sure. George, I think you're going to be pleased with the amount of noise that the vehicles emanate. I think hopefully you're going to be pleasantly surprised, but in the end, we think you're going to be pleased. The noise is going to be the same as prevailing traffic in the area.
Okay, do we have other questions? Please raise your hand. Or, oh, somebody raised their hand. Let's see who it is. Okay, Jeff.
Yes, hi. This question's in the chat too, but the question is, you're going to start pushing across 410 at Ellen Road, and I was just wondering what the timeline is for the start of that and when that will be completed.
I can probably tap dance my way through it, but first maybe I'll see if Tim might have a better feel for how how it's going to work as far as recognize that there's two phases of traffic shifts, how long it'll take to get through that installation.
Sure. Yep. So we look to come into the first phase in the next few weeks. Really, we made a little start on it. We just have to expand the roadway a little bit. If you're familiar with the roadway, basically there'll be always two lanes. I guess I call it northbound and one lane southbound. They'll all come onto the one side of the road, so we can get track across connecting to the existing. Before we start the track, we've got a lot of conduits basically to go in underneath for the eventual traffic signals that are in the area, as well as all like the train control, and also some drainage work has to be done across there. So I'd estimate 4 to 6 weeks per phase, basically, with the first one taking a little bit longer. It's got more of the conduits tucked into that side of onto Allen Road, sorry, at the top there. So yeah, I'd say we look to get started in there in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll be in each phase for 4 to 6 weeks would be my best guess at this moment.
Thank you.
Vic has asked us to provide the sidewalk and bicycle facilities from River Road to Ellen Road. I'm not sure we have those in the chat, but we don't have them accessible right now, Vic. We'll be sure to pull out what we can and post online when we post the questions and response posting.
Okay, thank you.
I can just say off the top of my head, 410. So I already mentioned that Kenilworth Avenue will have marked bike lanes, but around 410 from Kenilworth Avenue up to about 64th Avenue, just west of BW Parkway, will have marked bike lanes as well, and portion of Maryland 410 Veteran from Riverdale Southerly will also have marked bike lanes. I don't know the exact limits for that one, but this gives you an idea of what what we're talking about.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, other questions? Other questions? Got a new message, let's see. Can you share what side of the road the train will be on at Riverdale Road and Veterans Parkway?
Absolutely. I'm just making sure I refer to it the right way. What do I call this? I will call this the south side of Riverdale Road is where the trains are going to be. Am I referring to that correctly? Let's see.
Yep, it's outside of 410 Riverdale Road, and it
Yep.
turns with Maryland 410 veterans. So it stays off the roadway the entire time. So south side of 410 Riverdale, west side of 410 veterans.
Will the train be running along that apartment building?
It will be running right in front of the apartment building that's currently across from the police substation. The answer is yes.
Might be good to put up that rendering or that engineering drawing, Dave, if we can go to that slide.
And again, you'll find this all in the presentation when it's posted online. So you'll be able to look this up in a few days. Do we have other questions? Let's see. Rachel, is this light rail more similar to Boston's or Baltimore's?
Well, I know that up in Boston, the blue line is light rail. All the other colored lines are considered a heavy rail, which is similar to Washington Metro. So I'd say that we're sort of similar to the blue line, if you're familiar with that. But we will be very much like the light rail line that is running up in Baltimore, the one that runs from like Linthicum, that area, the airport Linthicum, up towards Towson.
And having ridden on both lines, Baltimore and Boston, I'd say Baltimore. I'm leaning toward Baltimore,
Okay.
but we'll be cooler looking. We'll be purple.
Well, certainly the Boston blue line is old, so yeah, it's kind of beat up. Yep.
Okay, again, you can sign up for construction notices at purplelinemd.com. For project questions and comments, contact us at Public Outreach. Our email address again is outreach@purplelinemd.com. Outreach@purplelinemd.com. You can also call us at 443-451-3706 for English, or 443-451-3705. We're also manning our hotline around the clock, so someone will take your calls. and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. I think we have another question. Is that from Joel? Joel, do you have another question?
There you go. Something's wrong with that system. I was wondering, because a lot of them, you were talking, I thought you were all finishing up, so. So I just had that question about the fair, too, in one of the other meetings. So, and the question I had was my smart trip card and my work benefit, because I have my work pays my commute from my work to my home. That's it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they would.
Go ahead.
So I guess that's it. So I didn't have any other questions.
Okay,
right now.
yeah. Joel, the way it's set up, we're working with Washington Metro right now to obtain equipment such that you can use a smart trip card to buy a fare on the Purple Line. It may not be as simple as tapping your smart trip card. You may have to tap your smart trip card and then take the Purple Line ticket that comes out. But it will accept smart trip cards as payment.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our CAT meeting. You know how to reach us. Matt, do you have any closing remarks?
Y'all, good evening.
Well, I'm gonna channel my best Gary Witherspoon. If you have any other questions, don't worry. Hey, if you think of any other questions over the next couple of days and you send them to us, we can include them in this presentation and send them out as part of the group response. But as always, if you just have a question that you just want to ask us one-on-one, we're available to answer them. So thank you.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Joel.